I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Evan Stewart. It is late on this Friday night because we have an update on the tropics. What was potential tropical cyclone number 4 is now tropical depression number 4. Spinning across the island of Cuba, it formed at 11 o'clock here just on the southern end of Cuba, just off the southern coastline right now. It's currently located about 260 miles south-southeast of Key West, and it is slowly moving to the west-northwest at 17 miles per hour, winds of 30. And already we have tropical storm watches in the yellow and warnings in the orange because we do expect this to become a tropical storm overnight or especially into the day on Saturday. Here's the forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. You can see by 8 o'clock on Saturday, a tropical storm with 40 miles per hour and then a tropical storm with 65 mile per hour winds as we head into Sunday evening, approaching the Big Bend area of Florida. And there is the potential that this could strengthen even more if it stays over these warm Gulf waters a little bit longer, maybe comes a little farther west before it starts to make that turn. It's not out of the realm of possibility this could become a hurricane by the time we get into Sunday evening. Then the big questions for, of course, the southeastern coastline and here in Hampton Roads is what happens beyond Sunday. And there is a tremendous amount of uncertainty in this forecast. If you are watching some of the earlier videos or some of the earlier broadcasts, you know that the forecast cone by Wednesday had the storm close to Cape Hatteras. It is now slowed down, and that's because there's some uncertainty in the models. And several of them are now calling for a little bit of a stall here just off the coast of South Carolina and Georgia or just inland. If it's inland, some of these wind speeds might be a little bit high. If it's a little bit farther off the coastline, some of these wind speeds could be a little bit underdone. Again, a lot of uncertainty as we go into the extended forecast beyond Sunday. One thing we are watching, these are the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico and the Bahamas and here just off the coast of Florida. These are water temperatures in the upper 80s, around 88, 89, getting close to 90 degrees. That's why there is that potential for this to possibly even become a weak hurricane as it works its way right through here. That's the Big Bend area of Florida. So let's talk about that forecast track. Here's the spaghetti models, and you can see they carry it off towards the northwest, and then notice how they all start to sort of jumble around here. That's that stall that many of the models are now showing, and that's why the Hurricane Center has slowed down that cone and that northeastward movement because, again, there is that uncertainty. These are all the different computer models that we use. Some of the main models we use, the American and the European. This is the American model, and this is what we call an ensemble run. This is where we take the initial conditions, tweak them a little bit, maybe say it's a little farther north, south, east, west, a little bit stronger, and run the same computer model several different times. And we get several different tracks, but notice again how they all sort of move all around here through the southeast coastline. That's that stalling movement and that stalling momentum that we see with the American models and that we're now seeing in the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. So let's compare the American, which will be in yellow, and the European in red. These are the latest runs of both of the models. These are the isobars, the line of constant pressure. And what that shows us is where the low pressure is located, where that tropical depression and eventually a tropical storm is developing. And the more lines you see and the closer and tighter packed they are, the stronger the system is. So still a fairly weak system by Saturday evening. Fairly consistent with it located here just off the west coast of Florida, southwest of Tampa, and here just towards the west or even towards the west-northwest of the Florida Keys. That takes us into Saturday evening. As we go into Sunday morning, still somewhere here maybe west of Tampa. Notice the American model has it a little bit stronger as it's over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. The European not quite as strong. And then notice as we get into Monday morning, European model a little bit slower, just has it making landfall, while the American model has it over Jacksonville, Florida, and working its way here off the southeast coast. Still in somewhat of a good agreement as we get into Tuesday morning off the southeast coastline, but the American much, much stronger with the storm here south of Charleston. That's because it's over the waters. It's allowed to strengthen. When you have water temperatures over 80 degrees, tropical systems intensify. And that's what we're seeing here with the American model, while the European model has it just off the coast here, just towards Savannah, Georgia. And then notice we get a little bit of that stall. And then the American model races it off towards the northeast by the end of the week. The European model has it working its way back inland closer to Atlanta. So that's why there's that uncertainty in the extended forecast as we get, say, past Monday or even into Tuesday. Definitely going to have some impacts along the southeast coastline. We'll likely see rain and windy conditions, especially through the Outer Banks of North Carolina by the middle and the end of the week. But again, what happens beyond about Sunday or Monday still up in the air because the storm is just formed, and several days from now, the environmental conditions could be very different than what we're seeing across the area right now. So that's the latest here late on this Friday evening. Of course, we'll keep you updated throughout the weekend, and we'll be watching this storm closely as we head into early next week.